Get in the know. Non-stop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
Being battle tested is, I guess, what you take from it, because you know come January you're going to need that, and so having had that, I think, is the silver lining. Like I've said, I'd like to pull away from people more than we have and not gift teams opportunities like I felt the turnovers did today, but the battle tested part of it is what you pull from it and say that can help us.
Hello, this is Purple Daily, Daily Vikings Entertainment, where we just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die, and where we just want to wave the flag. A lot of Vikings fans have been battle-tested for decades. This team is more than just battle-tested after that win in Buffalo yesterday, and we will break it all down now that we've been able to sleep on it here. Mackie, Judd, executive producer Declan, we're rocking our Twinsies Victory Monday hoodies here, which you can find at scorenorth.com/shop. Been racking up these Victory Mondays. So far, 8 of them on the season for the Vikings. So, let's get into it here. Presented by TCL, which is one of the world's best-selling consumer electronics brands. New lineup of award-winning TVs delivering the most entertainment with stunning resolution, all at an affordable cost. Enjoy more of the things you love with TCL. Before we get to our hottest, strongest Vikings takes, how many wind-down Surleys did you need after that 4-hour epic yesterday, Judd?
I think I ended up with 3 or 4. I would have gone more, but of course had to be up today because, and I also had to be clear-minded just to remember all of the things that took place in this marvelous game. It was absolutely incredible. But yes, I had, as you saw during our vent line, appreciate all the folks that watched that because it sounds like that was huge. I had a Before I Die. I added in a few Furiouses and just wound down. And there's no better way to wind down or to enjoy a Vikings win than with a Surly beer. So Surly Brewing, and of course, Before I Die, which by the way continues. I mean, I don't want to raise expectations here, but continues to get a little bit closer and closer with each win. 8-1 now. Before I Die, could it be a reality? I don't want to jinx things.
One game at a time.
Exactly right, Kevin O'Connell. But that is from Surly Brewing, so check them out.
Yes. My God, I feel like I'm still processing what happened in that game yesterday. I'm sure you guys are as well. And you mentioned Vikings Vent Line. We just want to thank you guys, the audience, because the numbers are in this morning. And they're still coming in. The precincts are still reporting.
I was going to say.
We might have to go to a runoff. But this was the most consumed between YouTube and podcast. Vikings Vent Line on Sunday was the single most consumed episode of Purple Daily in the history of the show over the 3 years that we've had it on both YouTube and podcast exclusively. And so thank you guys. It just recently snuck past the Alex Boone, Jim Harbaugh speculative episode that I think hooked a lot of people in. Booney saying, here's why you guys will love Jim Harbaugh for like an hour. Back in January last year. And so thanks to a wild Vikings victory, that was the most consumed episode of Purple Daily of all time. We'll start with Judd with your hottest, strongest Vikings take.
All right. As Phil just said, there were a ton of things off this game, both big picture and small. I'm going to leave the painting with a broad brush to you two because here's my hottest, strongest Vikings take after giving it great thought for the last, 18 hours or so. But I've come to the conclusion that Justin Jefferson's one-handed 32-yard catch on 4th and 18 in the fourth quarter, which was absolutely paramount. I know the Vikings didn't score, but it was paramount to continuing that drive into what eventually happened, is the greatest catch in Vikings history. It is the greatest catch in Vikings history. Now, let me be very clear. Is it the most consequential catch? No. The playoff catch, the miracle catch. But when you think about, go through every catch made in Vikings history, and you tell me how many have the elements that this catch had, okay? First of all, athletic ability. If nothing else, if that's just a high throw and he's not contested, it's a hell of a leaping catch. So start right there. It's probably good. It's going to be actually what the Diggs catch was, which is a one-handed great grab. But it doesn't end there. A defender behind him has two hands on the ball. Justin has one hand. He then has
with no leverage. His arms
no leverage,
all the
right?
way behind his
Do you
body.
know how strong you have to be to then take that ball out of that guy's hands? To your point, without your feet planted. So you're not like, it's not like you've got any type of advantage there. Takes the ball out of his hand, brings it back, and steals it out. It took skill, it took timing, and it took strength. And I believe this to be the greatest Vikings catch. Again, not the most consequential catch. The greatest Vikings catch I have ever seen. And I would say the greatest Vikings catch in the franchise 62-year history.
Wow. All right, what would be, if we're putting together like a pecking order or a Mount Rushmore of iconic Vikings catches?
Rashad in 80. But that was a
they
tip.
just celebrated that last weekend with Tommy and Bud and the crew, right? That's the one
And
they were.
I think they're going to do that in the middle of this month. But anyway, like that catch is a great catch, but that's a tip ball. So that's some luck here. Like, keep in mind, there's nothing lucky about Jefferson's catch. There's no luck there.
Yeah.
There's no like, oh, he caught a break. No, everything was against him.
He just took the ball with one hand. Yeah.
The Gulliford catch against the Packers, where he supposedly came off the bench, is a memorable catch, but it's not like a catch where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that when he caught the ball, he caught it. The Diggs catch for the miracle for sure.
Yeah.
Some of Moss's catches.
Yeah, like the Moss over a couple defenders in Lambeau Monday night is in the conversation.
Dallas, Thanksgiving Day.
The Dallas game.
Didn't he like the one-handed snag against the Seahawks? I think like in the first week of the season is like an iconic catch at the corner of the end zone that Moss had to, where he just literally just catches it with one hand. There's a lot.
And then just like general Chris, I can just see like a Chris Carter silhouette tiptoeing the sideline. There's a lot of those. I'd have to think back to see if any of those happened, like with the game on the line on the road against one of the three best teams in the NFL, you know?
Fourth down, if you don't catch that ball, that game's probably just over.
Yeah. And also just you could tell that the juices were flowing between Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs. Not because I think they love each other. Everything they've said about each other the last week or so has just been like praising each other. But
yes,
if you're Justin Jefferson, you want to show the world, yeah, this was the right trade to make. I'm better. And Diggs had a huge game. He was pretty much unstoppable in that game, and his numbers and impact paled in comparison to Justin Jefferson.
When Diggs caught the ball with that great leaping one-handed catch, you said to yourself, that's going to be hard to top. Like, there's not, that's the best, that's one of the best catches of the season. I don't think that that's going to be topped today. And it was, because in that play, Diggs did not have a guy on him. But the timing and importance of that catch, because I believe that there was 124 left, that kept the drive going. And keep in mind, what's important is, okay, they didn't score, but it put the ball at the 1. Well, the Allen fumbled snap happened because of that catch. So, like, everything about that catch, to me, goes into a great big football stew. And it comes out being the greatest catch in Vikings history.
I love that take. It's a great take to debate. All right, Declan, what is your hottest, strongest Vikings take?
All right, so this is like the blackjack table when I have an 11 and the dealer is still showing a bust card at a 6, and I'm still going to double down here and slide in and get a double my bet and win twice my money. So my hottest, strongest take here is thank you for Greg Joseph for missing the extra point. I'm actually thanking Greg Joseph for missing that extra point because it leads to all the great things that we were able to still see yesterday.
I need to throw a penalty flag. That is not a take. We're gonna need you to rephrase that so that it is.
Greg Joseph missing the extra point. Greg Joseph missing the extra point was the best thing to happen to the Vikings yesterday.
That is a huge. That's a
there
take.
You go.
Wow.
Greg Joseph missing the extra point was the best thing to happen to the Vikings yesterday in the win. So they go down 23-27. The very next drive is where we see the greatest catch of all time that judges declared from Justin Jefferson. It forces the Vikings to play an aggressive style. If you want to play for the tie eventually, if Joseph makes that field goal, we're playing for a tie. We're not playing then again eventually for a potential touchdown. We're not going to be throwing haymakers. We're not going to be going for it on 4th down. Greg Joseph missing that kick opens up an aggressive form for the Vikings. And of course, does a scoop and score on the goal line when you fail convert on 4th and 1 still linger into this? Yes, it does. And by the way, Greg Joseph still nails a field goal in overtime to help you win the game. Greg Joseph missing that extra point has a butterfly effect, in my opinion, in this Vikings game that ends up actually making them look like the true Super Bowl contenders and the legit contenders that they should be right now in the NFC. So Greg Joseph missing that extra point was the greatest thing to happen to the Vikings yesterday. I am doubling down.
Okay, let's go through this. This is an interesting take. So they're down 27-17 at the time of the touchdown, and he misses the extra point. So instead of it being 27-24 Buffalo, it's 27-23.
Yep.
And then the Vikings get the ball. They're driving down. So like Declan said, they probably. So it still would have been likely. I don't. Who knows? Maybe they would have even stopped short further because they would have even. I don't think they would have been super conservative until the 4th down decision. Then you have to decide: do we kick a game-tying field goal, or do we try and sneak it in with Kirk, which is what they did? Let me stop right there. Do you guys think they would have settled for a game-tying field goal there, or do you think they would have, screw it, guys, we're on the doorstep, let's go for the win right now?
My gut says field goal. And also this team hasn't been, which is going to be maybe in later on statements of Mackey and Judd. This team just is not good on 4th down. They're not as aggressive on 4th down. And I think Kevin O'Connell would have been a little gung shy there after what happened in this game, what happened in the Arizona game. I think they would have elected for the field goal personally.
How much time is left if they do that?
So there was 4th. Let me see here. There was like 45 seconds left.
50 seconds left when Kirk ran up the middle. For no gain.
When that play stopped, there was between 40 and 50 seconds left.
Yeah.
So they would have been giving, if they kick a field goal, they're giving the ball back to Buffalo with no timeouts, but only a field goal to win the game in that situation. Of course, Buffalo wound up down by 3 in the same situation and still kicked a field goal to tie it and send it to overtime.
Right. You know what that was? That was the Vikings have done a great job of creating their own fortune, and there's no question that football gods, unlike the last 2 years, are smiling down. But that was a very soft landing to tell you, Declan, that you got a kicking problem. That's what that was. That was a soft landing of the football god saying, you got a kicking problem, but I'm not going to screw you. I fear next time they won't get as fortunate, and I fear next time, unfortunately, it might come in the playoffs. Joseph's now missed 4 PATs. That's as many as he missed all of last year. So I get that it ended up being fortuitous, and hell, I mean, Josh Allen dropped a snap. What are the odds of that, too? But I can't get past the fact that I think it's time for us all to understand you got a kicking problem.
Yeah, and I love this take, by the way. It's because it's great for sort of like butterfly effect fodder. I still think they go for it in that situation. I think because here's the other thing. Not that Kevin O'Connell is like weighing a moral victory in his head. He wanted to win the game, but if you wind up losing this game 27-23, which is what the outcome was supposed to be before Josh Allen fumbled that snap, I think Vikings fans, I think everyone in that locker room, you still feel like, okay, we lost, but we just went toe-to-toe on the road with one of the 3 best teams in the NFL. And it sucks that we lost, but we can hold our heads high knowing that we can play with any team in the NFL in any environment, right?
Yep.
So I think with that backdrop, I think the risk is even less to just go for the win if they were in the spot to do so, if they were only down by 3 instead of 4.
And I think it's important to point this out, too. O'Connell was well aware, and we saw this. If you tie the game and now you got to kick off, you know damn well the Bills are going down the field quickly and probably beating you on a field goal.
Correct.
That's the one thing that I would say. Like we did see yesterday, the ease with which the Bills moved down the field at certain key times was alarming. So if you tie that game, it's not like, okay, there's 3 seconds left, let's go to OT. It's time for a drive, and we saw that, so you might be right. Like he might have said, you know what, screw it. If we tie this game, we're going to lose. Yeah. Let's just try and go for the win.
Yeah. All All right, my hottest, strongest Vikings take. I've done some digging on this. This was the biggest win, period, in the Kirk Cousins era of Vikings football. And I know you're going to say, what about the Saints playoff game? Mm-hmm. Well, the Vikings oddly had the Saints number as a franchise at that point. Like Mike Zimmer had the Saints number defensively by that point. The miracle in 2017. And so Kirk deserves a ton of credit for the dagger throw to Adam Thielen that eventually, and then the throw to Kyle Rudolph, which, sent them into the second round of the playoffs. But if you look back since 2018, here's a list of road victories against teams that finished the season above 500. 2018, the Vikings beat the 9-7 Eagles in Philadelphia. 2019 playoffs, they beat the Saints. That was a 13-3 Saints team. But again, defensively, there was just something about those Zimmer defenses that were not impossible, but difficult for the Saints to figure out. 2020, the Vikings beat the 13-3 Packers at Lambeau Field, but the Vikings were 2-5 at the time of the victory and never surfaced above 500. So it was a game in which they were trying to get back to relevancy, but it wasn't two titans at the top of their conferences facing off. And then the only other one is last year, the Vikings beat the eventual 9-8 Chargers in Los Angeles. This year, the Dolphins, but they played backup quarterbacks. The Dolphins probably finish above 500 at the end of the season, but you can count on one hand how many times the Kirk Cousins-led Vikings have went on the road and beat a team that finished above 500. And I'm going to put this win above the Saints playoff win in terms of magnitude, stature, and I think what it means for the team. I know it's going to sound crazy because it's a playoff win versus another one.
Right.
But I just think that environment, Buffalo, the Vikings have historically, they've kind of solved the Saints here and there, except for 2009, which that was officiating more than anything else. So yes, right. This was the biggest win of the Vikings and Kirk Cousins era going back to 2018.
I got to give that some thought because the Saints game, the issue with the Saints game is we know how it came out eventually, right? Which is the next week you go to play San Francisco and you get your ass kicked.
That taints it a little bit.
So that taints it for sure. But this game from start to finish, and I mean it got crazier, felt huge. I was trying to recall as I watched that game, and this was actually, I think, in the first half, so it hadn't even got nuts yet. I was trying to remember the last Vikings game that I covered or watched on TV that felt this big in the regular season. When's the last time that they played a game that there was, that was game of the week intensity? It was just absolutely fantastic, and it won.
Just hanging out at noon.
And it felt like a playoff game.
That game, parked at noon, was a travesty.
You know what? Well, yeah, it was. But you know what? It still worked out. Kirk didn't have to play in prime time. Might have worked out well. But the point is, I'd be inclined to agree, and I guess it's going to depend a little bit on how things play out from here. But just based on, too, that this team now, especially since Kirk joined it, feels so different. It feels so different. And look, you know what? Kirk's stats, again, weren't great. They weren't.
Careful.
They weren't great.
Don't be a hater.
What he did?
Don't be a hater.
But you know what he did? Well, no. I am here to dispel the statistical love and say, no, the love is in wins. This is why quarterback wins are important. Don't give pitching wins. I'll discuss that all day long, and I'll probably agree with those who say that's stupid because it's some arbitrary. If you pitch long enough, you're going to get the win, and some slappy comes in and gets 2 outs and gets a win. It's stupid. But quarterback wins. You are, unless you get hurt or you suck, the quarterback a record.
Yeah.
So it matters when you can win games, and what we're seeing to me a lot of times from Kirk is he is doing the things with, help and assistance from O'Connell too, because I think it's important to point that out. But he's doing things to get you wins. So I would not fight to the death about your statement.
I would say I believe in the power of QB wins over a long career sample size. Mm-hmm. If you're 120 games into your quarterback career and you're below 500, you're either not that good, along for the ride, or you're Matthew Stafford playing for the Lions for 10 years, something like that. Yesterday, like if we were to sit here and divvy up, and Declan's going to kind of do this in a second with his pie chart, but if we were going to divvy up like win shares for yesterday, Kirk tried to wreck that game a couple different times with the first interception, you could say, well, it was windy and it sailed. All right, it was a terrible throw. The second interception was just a blue screen of death, short circuit. I agree with what Deck said on Ventline yesterday. It looked like he thought the Bills defender was a Vikings outlet pass.
Oh, I think he did.
He did.
And they were down by, 17 points, and it was just a classic Kirk teeth-clenching meltdown game. And all the while, like Patrick Peterson picking off a pass to keep the game alive. Defense getting pressure, holding the Bills to 6 points in the second half. Dalvin Cook ripping off an 80-yard run. Justin Jefferson catching 9 50% or less. There's Next Gen Stats said he had 9 catches of 50% probability to catch the ball or less in that game. So to me, the best thing Cousins did was just keep getting up, keep moving forward, and keep throwing it to Justin Jefferson. He played largely poorly in that game. But I'm kind of like, this is where, just to circle it back to Judd's point, this is where I'm at with sort of like sharpening the Kirk Cousins pencil. We've seen what he can do at his peak. We know that he can do the 320, 3-touchdown thing. And he's probably got a couple of those left in him. We know what his peak looks like.
Right.
I think the ability to keep moving forward and to overcome terrible mistakes. You're having a terrible game. His QBR was 39 out of 100 yesterday. It was a statistically terrible game for him. And he just kept throwing the ball, chunking the ball down the field to Justin Jefferson anyways.
Yes.
Keep doing it anyways.
Yes.
On the road against Buffalo. So, again, it was just like a kind of a perfectly imperfect performance by him in so many ways.
And you can also tell the infrastructure has now been morphed and changed to there is an element in watching the games now that there is a belief in Kirk that, in my opinion, was not there previously. And I know exactly why. But
it helps when the coach is the one leading that belief.
And the coach,
right?
But I mean, the coach is emboldening Kirk. Kirk clearly has taken that. And yes, you know what? Kirk didn't play well. But you know who had damn good stats and completed some absolutely key passes? Kirko. Mm-hmm. So when Kirko came in, and you can't see it, it looks like the same guy, but believe me, it's not the same guy. When chain wearing Kirko took the field, guess what? There was a savvy, there was a swagger. It was Namath-like in '69.
Just waving that finger.
It's Kirko.
Waving that finger.
Kirko.
Let's get it. All right, those are your hottest, strongest Vikings takes here. And before we get to, it's Declan's turn to be the chef here on Pie Chart Monday. Let's shout out our friends at Underdog. Got to be some crazy tickets from yesterday floating around.
Oh yes, I've gotten a lot of DMs. I wonder if I can give one of our lucky listeners just my login information and they can start making my pick'em slips for me. Because Chris over here, a 5-item parlay for a nice little $1,000 payout for our guy Chris. So he took the over on a lot of things in the Vikings-Bills game. Took the over on Dawson Knox, TJ Hawkinson, JJ with reception, Stephon Diggs with receiving yards. All overs. He's riding all overs. And we ride unders like I did yesterday. You get burned on your parlay. I hit the first 2 legs, no problem. But the third item, I took an under and I got burned. But Underdog Fantasy is still the best and easiest way to play fantasy sports. It's the best way to get a sweat on games, not just in the NFL, but in the NHL and the NBA, PGA, plenty of options on Underdog Fantasy. And when you join with promo code SCORE, SKOR, they will double your first deposit up to $100. So download the Underdog Fantasy, promo code SCORE, SKOR, first deposit up to $100. Underdog Fantasy and the Underdog Fantasy app.
Boys, beneath this glorious Victory Monday hooded sweatshirt, this Purple Daily Victory Monday hooded sweatshirt, beneath the fold, old Macadac's got his Chill Boys long underwear. Rocking and rolling today. What's one word to describe how Chill Boys made you feel over the weekend?
Winning. You know what? Vikings won. Gophers won too. Winning. I feel, in fact, I went to the Gopher football game on Saturday. You know, it's chilly here now. It's snowing today, but it was cold on Saturday. Yeah. And I was rocking the Long Johns. And I'm going to tell you again, I have never been in my life so happy to see cold, because cold means Chill Boys Long Johns. And those Long Johns mean ultimate comfort. I'm not joking. If you haven't tried these out, these will change your life from a Long John's ordinarily bunched up point of view. So I was winning, Phil Mackey.
A Long John's bunched up point of view is the point of view I choose to view the world through.
I hated Long John's. Before this, I hated them. They were
them.
uncomfortable. They were warm, but they were
It's a game
uncomfortable.
changer.
Chill Boys just changed it.
Dex, what's a word to describe for your Chill Boys experience?
Warm. It was a warm weekend because I had my Long Johns on. I got a tailgate coming up this weekend, Judd Zolgad. Speaking of Ski-U-Mah, row the boat, go Gophers. I got a tailgate. We got Iowa coming to town, and I'm going to be nice and warm in my Chill Boys. And same thing, we did a little bar hopping on Saturday afternoon with the pup Vinny. We were able to walk around a little bit, and then I had my Long John Chill Boys on, so I was doing good. So luckily, things were doing all right, and I was keeping warm because of my friends at Chill Boys.
Beautiful. Chillboys.com. It's a Minnesota-based company. You can find them online. We appreciate you supporting all of our partners here on Purple Daily and all across the Score North network of podcasts. All right, it's time. Declan has pulled a pie out of the oven.
Now on Mackie and Judd,
You wanted better charts that you could see the fine print on.
the pie chart of praise.
You should be singing his praises. The Rock knows how you feel about pie.
All right, you're up, Chef Dex.
Never before have I had to throw away just pies. I had pies in the oven. The oven was preheated. I had a great ingredients of pies, and I had to take a bite of that pie. I gave a bite to Vinny too, and he said, "You gotta throw away that pie, dude. That's not good." I'm a dog, and I'll eat just about anything you put in my mouth.
careful
but
with
at
the
the
dog.
same time,
It's bad for him.
Sounds like you guys give Vinny a little too much people food, okay?
So he's drinking now?
he's
On
something.
Saturdays?
He's
just
accompanying
getting
dad
loaded?
on. He's not Stella. Okay, he's not getting crazy.
He's nuts.
He's the DD. He's walking around with. He likes the snow too. This morning, big snow guy. He loves playing in the snow. Okay,
Not Stella.
Very exciting. Yeah.
but he's doing all right.
All right,
okay,
good.
so.
So your pie chart of blame is in the garbage.
Yes,
it was probably fully
Ugh.
as Josh Allen's lining up for like a kneel down. That pie, the alarm was going off on the oven saying, "Hey, your pie chart of blame is done. It's already cooked,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's been thrown away."
So yeah, I had to make a whole new pie here. So fellas, I have 5 pieces of pie. I have 5 pieces of pie to slice up and dice and dissect here on this pie
The
chart.
Rock knows how you feel about pie.
Let's go to the first piece of pie. Let's call it the football gods. 10% to the football gods for smiling upon the Minnesota Vikings. The 2020, this is maybe even a bigger piece of pie, not just in the Bills game, but just another overarching theme of the season. The Vikings are catching some breaks here and there. They're winning close games. They're doing a lot of things that always hurt them in the past. And the football gods, even when you miss an extra point, still smile upon you and still give you a victory. So 10% to the football gods, whoever he is or she is, they deserve a little bit of piece of praise in this pie chart. So 10% to the football gods.
How do we reconcile this? Because this is a day of celebration, jubilation. This is the happiest I can remember Vikings fans being in years. It was pretty lucky. How do we reconcile the fact that the game was over at 27-23 and then the football gods smiled? A rare smile from the football gods to the Minnesota Vikings.
It's very, very simple, and it's been a season-long trend, and that's the most important thing. You create your own luck. And you work hard for it. For instance, the 4th and 18 catch. Jefferson doesn't catch that. You don't get to the 1. You don't get stopped. Josh Allen is taking a snap at midfield, and I guarantee doesn't fumble it.
Yeah.
So this is why when the Vikings say last year, if we had won close games, we're 15-2, and I'm like, no, you're not, because you didn't win close games. Okay, you can't take credit of, well, we got unfortunate. And I think that Kevin O'Connell's attitude and demeanor plays a big role here. You create your luck through hard work. So I have no problem with this because of the fact that I will never say, well, the 2021 Vikings, you don't understand, Phil. They were a really good team. They would have won a ton of games if they hadn't choked. So you're not choking here. So I have no problem with luck and with some assistance because the Vikings are working hard to get that luck.
Yeah, it's. They didn't create all of it. So, there's a certain percentage of yesterday's game that if you ran the last 40 seconds back 100 times, you probably only win that game twice. Mm-hmm. Maybe 5 times. Maybe there's a safety in there or something. But it's like and maybe their win probability was 1% or less than that. But generally speaking, I agree that, and also worth noting, because some people are lumping in the interceptions, like the red zone interceptions in the luck category. Josh Allen had, I believe, the most turnover-worthy plays of any quarterback going into this game. He is incredible, but he's also a little loosey-goosey.
That's not luck.
Not a shock that the veteran, wily veteran, future Hall of Famer Patrick Peterson is the one that found 2 opportunities to change that game, right?
That's not luck.
He knew
Agreed.
those were going to be available. Yep. And he pounced. So, okay, 10%.
The Rock knows how you feel about pie.
Second piece of pie, same amount of percentage, but we're going to give it to Dalvin Cook, who rifled up an 81-yard run that I think kind of now that opened up the rest of the game for the Vikings. At that point, it looked like they were dead in the water. It looked like, okay, like my pie chart of praise was mostly already assembled at that point, maybe just a few pieces here and there. He rifles off that 81-yard run, and then everything changed from there. Now, this is also, though, the fun part of running backs, because outside of that 81-yard run, I mean, he had a pretty ineffective day, like 13 carries on 38 yards if you remove that 81-yard run. I think he only had like 3 or 4 rushing attempts in the first half in general. So his home run, if you will, opened up the rest of the Vikings game for them. Once they got that big play from Dalvin, everything started coming up Vikings, basically. So he does deserve a piece of praise, but it's just 10% of my pie chart. It goes to Dalvin Cook.
That's
Very
probably,
fair.
of the 15 crazy things that happened in that game, that run was crazy because it was just an 80-yard run kind of out of nowhere. And you're right. It was like the thing that was like the casket door opened and the Undertaker sat up real quick. And it was game on from that point.
Yes, that run swung the game. Because Dex is right. That game felt done. And like the Vikings felt done. And this is where they're different. And this is where you create your luck, right? Because instead of saying we're down by 17, we are screwed. Let's go home. They're like, hell no. There's this weird, this is not a regular thing, but there is this weird thing when teams have the ability to never be done, basically, where things start to sway your way sometimes. And like the resilience, which the 2021 Vikings completely lacked, the resilience of this team is just damn impressive.
Amen. All right. Well, let's keep going, Chef.
All right, so the next chunk of pie might be a little controversial, but I'm going to give it to him anyway because he plays the most important position and he still was making throws. I'm giving 20% to Kirk. Now, Cousins statistically and eye test-wise had moments yesterday that were pretty dumbfounding. Like a 71 passer rating, the pick we had that we just talked about, the second interception was absolutely buffoonery. Not to spoil one of our PFF grades, but Kirk Cousins was one of the lowest graded players on the Vikings yesterday. Was one of the lowest graded players.
The grades are out.
The grades are out.
Oh, now you've lost Mackie.
Oh, sorry, dudes.
Your pie chart now.
That's going to be
just
like
me and you,
Matt.
Dex.
Yeah,
I'll just
20%. Yeah, that's a good chunk of pie. Okay, 25%. Yeah, Kirk, although had a statistically maybe poor game, he was still aggressive. He still pushed the ball down the field. He didn't let the circumstances that I think typically would have shipwrecked him before. He didn't allow that to happen. I think that's an empowering of Kirk. That's also trusting your star players in Justin Jefferson. And I'm going to throw you not a 50-50 ball. Let's call it an 80-20 ball that's going to get caught, and you're still going to come down with it. Trusting those star players, giving the ball to TJ Hawkinson a lot, finding Thielen, finding KJ, maximizing his playmakers, even when his stats don't look great. So I'm still going to give 20% of my pie to Kirk Cousins. He deserves some chunk of praise in the pie chart. 20%.
The Rock knows how you feel about pie.
That's fair.
Same amount
Look
of
at Mackie right now, Dex. He's
okay,
just like, the
dude.
grades. The grades are out. The grades.
Okay, real quick, one thing about the grades.
We interrupt this pie chart.
All right. So he had a really low run grade, even though he had he's had a couple great scrambles in recent weeks, but
yeah.
I think they must have dinged him for the quarterback sneak, not getting home. Because ultimately, some of it's on the offensive line, but some of it's on, you just got to find a spot to dive into the end zone, right?
Are interceptions just graded the same? So, was the second interception graded the same as the first interception? Does that make sense?
They will likely have different grades based on circumstance.
Right,
So the second interception, again, I didn't go back and break down the film. Just watching the replay on TV 5 times.
Yeah.
That's one of the worst interceptions you'll ever see.
Yeah.
So he definitely got dinged for that. Yeah.
Okay. We got 2 pieces of pie left here. 2 pieces of pie left in this pie chart of praise. 20% Patrick Peterson, man. Come on down. 2 interceptions. I did kind of find it hilarious on the first one where that probably had an opportunity to be maybe a pick 6, and maybe 6 years ago, Patrick Peterson runs that back, no problem.
He didn't even get tackled. He just fell to the ground.
There was a GIF that I don't know if you guys saw us going around, but it was a gas gauge, and at the gas gauge, Patrick Peterson at the gas gauge was at like a little more than a half a tank, and then immediately the gas gauge just in like the wintertime, just immediately fell down to E. He just ran. I think he was so hyped up, he just probably also fell over on top of his age. But it was kind of hilarious. But he sealed the game. In overtime, he seals the game with the actual game-sealing interception. He actually had a couple of big pass deflections. Pat P, man, I mean, having a resurgent year here with the Vikings. He's been awesome. He deserves 20% of my pie chart of praise.
And on that first pick, what was Josh Allen thinking when he not only helped make the tackle, but he tried to punch the ball, and he ended up basically taking his bad elbow and hitting Peterson with it?
Yeah.
What? Dude, come on. I know you're tough, and I know you're mad, but that was stupid.
That was pretty dumb.
He does get, he definitely thinks he's a football player. And he is the most football player of all the quarterbacks, probably.
Yep.
But, I don't know. And then he's just, writhing in pain. But overall, I don't know, man. That guy was throwing, 3/4 lasers, 15, 20 yards. He's throwing bombs down the field. It didn't look like they must have given him a nice little cortisone shot a couple days ago. That's what they do with pitchers who have partially torn UCLs and, little elbow sprains. Say, you want to get Tommy John? I'd rather wait till the end of the season. Can you just shoot me up here, Doc? Well, countless pitchers do that, and I'm sure
The Rock
it's the same
knows how
thing
you
for
feel about pie.
Josh Allen.
All right, so final chunk of pie, to probably no surprise, 40%, the last piece, biggest chunk of pie here, Justin Jefferson. Just an amazing day. The 9 catches of less than 50% probability. At the end of the day, he had 16 targets for 193 yards, a touchdown, 10 receptions. You trusted your star player. You trusted your star receiver to come down with those footballs. Even looking at the pictures of that, I still don't understand. I thought it was picked. My initial gut was I thought the Buffalo Bills player intercepted that football, and I was like, oh, okay. And I think that's where I first got up, and I was going to go to old Macadac and say, let's fire up this vent line. But he changed the game for the Vikings yesterday. Stephon Diggs had an amazing catch. You could have made a case that, hey, that was the first catch of the year right there. And Justin Jefferson one-upped him with an even more spectacular grab. Yeah. So Justin Jefferson, in my opinion, had the biggest chunk of pie in that win. He was the biggest focal point for the Vikings getting the win, so he gets 40%. So my pie chart of praise, 5 pieces. Dalvin Cook, 10%. Football gods, 10%. Kirk Cousins, 20%. Patrick Peterson, 20%. And 40% to Justin Jefferson.
The Rock knows how you feel about pie.
Amazing. Judd, you take any issues with Chef Dex's creation here?
Yeah, I take a little bit off Kirk's piece. Because I do think Kirk getting a small slice is fine, and I would give I give 10% to Kirk,
Kirk
and
hater.
10%
Kevin
O'Connell.
Admit you were wrong. Sorry, Kevin O'Connell. Yeah.
What he's instilled with this team, he's the start of the belief system. These guys have no business being down by 17 in the third quarter, thinking, you know what, we're not dead yet. They have no business because this is the Buffalo Bills. AFC champions potentially, right? And they not only came back, but they did it in a way that was like, oh, wow, they're coming back. And they've taken me to a point now where I wasn't completely shocked by that fact.
Yeah.
Because, and this is not just to be clear, splitting hairs slightly here, this is not a despicable, furious rally team, okay? That's a team of losers and underachievers who does what Kirk used to do, which is, we're coming back in the fourth quarter. We're not going to win, but my stats go up and the score looks respectable. That is a despicable act, to quote Joe Buck. This team actually starts to come back, and you're like, oh my God, they're going to do it again.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I would say the biggest snub for me was Duke Shelley not getting at least 2%.
Shelley Island,
Shelley Island.
There's some injury concerns
great
here.
pass
You're right.
break. Are there though? I mean, Duke Shelley's here now, so I'm.
Blake Brendel at left tackle.
Dude, he was not terrible in that game.
He was not.
We'll look at the grades. We'll look at the grades, but
yeah, he gave up a sack. I think he was actually solid. But I'm just saying, Christian Darrisaw makes me feel very good when he's playing left tackle.
Yeah, he's a good football player.
He's good at football.
Speaking of pie, by the way,
The Rock knows how you feel about pie.
you can still eat pie in moderation this time of year
You gotta
with
be
Libya,
smart.
right?
You got to be smart. But look, the key to the weight that I dropped, 40 pounds, and most importantly, keeping that weight off, thanks to my friends at Livia Weight Control Centers, is this. It is not a diet. It's not a quick fix. It is a lifestyle change that is going to benefit you from the day that you start to drop weight on a program that, if you follow it, is as simple as possible to the day that your dietitian helps you keep that weight off. And that's the most important thing. And I have a new offer to announce. It started yesterday but the new offer is this. Join today and save 50%. 50%. And keep in mind, if you join now, guess what? It's getting cold out, but imagine when spring starts to come around and now you've dropped 30 pounds, 40 pounds, and all those clothes that you just put away, you're like, these won't fit. They start to fit. Inside or outside the state, it can be done certainly virtually or in the state. There are several of their centers, 855-GO-LIVIA, 855-GO-LIVEA, livia.com, livea.com. That is the key to unlocking your weight loss journey, livia.com.
Business owners out there, if you are looking to elevate and maximize your business, Federated Insurance has over 100 years of experience in doing just that. In fact, in 1904, a group of farmers and business owners in and around Owatonna, Minnesota, pooled their resources together, seeking better value for their premium dollar. And what followed in the decades to come, consistent growth, expanding to provide property coverage, and a business was formed and spawned. And by mid-century, Federated became one of the nation's first multi-line insurance companies. And here they are, helping all sorts of businesses in and outside the state of Minnesota. Find out more about how Federated can offer you frontline protection, like a great offensive line for your business, at federatedinsurance.com, where it's our business to protect yours. We got to get to nitpicks and what are we doing, guy? But if you haven't already, click the subscribe button on the Purple Daily YouTube channel and the like button. Please do so. You can help spread the word about this daily Vikings community that you are helping us build. And if you missed Ventline, obviously that was just a crazy celebration for 90 minutes. So go check that out too. Let's get to nitpicks here. Whenever the Vikings lose, which is apparently never, we do silver linings. And to keep it balanced, whenever they win, we do nitpicks. So, Judd, we can just do one or two each here and then get to what are we doing, guy. But give us one of your nitpicks from yesterday.
This one is actually an old man nitpick. It happened early in the game. Justin Jefferson's touchdown catch was followed by, I asked on Twitter and I saw this, okay? So I now know that this was done, I think, by a couple of players from Florida. But the gritty that now involves grabbing the back of your leg like you've hurt your hamstring, dude, I don't need that. I don't need that I'm sure it's cool, but dude, come on. You're Justin Jefferson. And it's not Justin's fault, but you don't know the history of the franchise that you're playing for, nor should you, but just trust me. Grabbing your hamstring when you are right now probably, or definitively, the best receiver in the National Football League, in a game in which our blood pressure is already going to soar, we don't need that. The gritty is great. I love the dance. Quit doing, but don't grab your hamstring.
That's fair. I think everyone kind of it took.
Joe Davis is like, he's grabbing his hamstring.
And then Daryl Moose Johnson, who's 100 years old now too, from those early '90s Cowboys teams.
Yes.
Like didn't know what was happening.
I didn't either. To be
what
fair.
Are these gyrations? Why is he grabbing himself? What's happening? And then another thing too. Daryl Johnson, God bless him. He used to be on the A squad like 20 years ago on the Fox broadcast. Nobody loves burning pointless timeouts early in the game more than Daryl Moose Johnson. The Buffalo Bills, 90 seconds into that game, it was 3rd down and 8, and they burned a timeout. It would have been, is it 3rd and 8 or 3rd and 13? You're like deep in your own territory. You're not like on the verge of the red zone or anything. And they just call a timeout. Of course, Sean McDermott just calls a timeout with 90 seconds into the game. And Daryl Moose Johnson's like, this is a great timeout. First of all, it's a terrible timeout. Why are you that unorganized 90 seconds in the game? This is a great timeout because now it's a 3rd and 8 instead of a 3rd and 13. I'm like, Is that really all that different at that stage in the game when you have Josh Allen as your quarterback? I'd probably save I don't be burning dumb timeouts, but
there's
whatever.
nothing in your playbook for 3rd and 13, Phil.
Well, on back-to-back third downs, I think there was something in the Bills' playbook in the second half, which is actually that's one of my nitpicks. Just Ed Donashell, great job holding the Bills to 6 points in the second half and overtime. But my God, that defense gave us some heart attacks on a 3rd and 15, back-to-back third downs, 3rd and 15, and a 3rd and 16 back-to-back conversions. So I need a little less Ed Donashell on some of those third downs, and I need Ed Donatel or whatever the pressure version of him is to come out. That was slightly unforgivable, I guess. What about you, Dex?
Can we stop? This might be a combination of nitpicks and classic. Can we stop? Can we stop with the tight end slip screen? It seems like we are trying to make the tight end slip screen happen so many times. And I love TJ Hawkinson, dude. He's going to be a great addition to this Vikings offense. But every time we try this play, whether it was with Hawkinson, whether it was with Kyle Rudolph, or even Tyler Conklin, it doesn't work. It does not work. It gets sniffed out every single time. Stop making the screen happen in my Mean Girls voice here. Like, stop trying to make the tight end slip screen happen. It's not going to work, dude.
Little chip and leak out.
Just no. Just slant them over the middle. Do something else. You don't have to put them in a tight end slip screen every time.
I get it's Monday, early out west, but how is it that Declan Goff said tight end slip screen and we did not immediately get the
Well, he was talking.
But I mean, you say
There's
that
a reason the button bar was taken away from me.
It was taken away. It was yanked away from me.
If this were up to you, we would just have every 3 seconds we'd be firing sounders. Just
well, that's right. That's what the kids want.
Or what he just says, he doesn't say play the sound, he says play it. And it's like, could it be Ode to Joy? Could it be football? Could it be
I just said the
Baltimore? Could it
football
be
sound.
You think you're suited to be the 4th guy in our group, Buzz Killington?
I know what the kids want. A little gritty, grab your hamstring, but then you keep
play
doing
Ode
the
to
gritty.
Joy. Yeah.
Yep.
I'll give you another one here, too. All right, the Vikings, we gave you this on the State of the Offense last Thursday on Purple Daily. If you were paying attention, you knew that the Vikings were one of the best 3rd and 4th down short yardage teams in the NFL. They run the ball somewhat on those downs, but they also have some creative pass plays. But either way, like whether they're running the ball because they're a really good, I mean, Dalvin's averaging 5 yards a carry. They're a really good short yardage run team, but they've been really creative inside the 5-yard line, short yardage, jet sweep motions. They had a back-to-back inside the 2 minutes of the first half. It was a 3rd and 1 and a 4th and 1. And they went with just sort of straight drop back, longer passes by Kirk Cousins instead of running something that you would run on like a 2-point conversion or, a 3rd and goal from the 2. They just kind of had Kirk drop back and throw passes, and I wasn't in love with those play calls. I think if you just lean forward with Dalvin Cook on either 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1, you pick up the new set of downs, and you might have a chance to go in and score before the end of the half. So
O'Connell's, I think I know exactly what his thinking is, and I tend to side with you. Like one pass attempt on 3rd down to Jefferson is fine, but 4th down, go for it. I love that call. That's absolutely the correct call. But run the football. I think what O'Connell runs into is this. I think the 4th down play to Osborne, he considered for the 3rd down play, and he loved both plays so much, he's like, one of these has to work, right? So he's like, the Jefferson play, okay, that's going to work. It didn't work. But instead of saying, all right, we need 1 yard, I think they were at like the Buffalo 28 or something. So going forward, 1,000% the right call. But instead of saying, you know what, let's just get that, let's hammer that ball through, get the blocking, and then go to the Osborne play later, he's like, I love that play call for 3rd down. So on 4th down, I think he's going to have to at times fall out of love a little bit with the play calls and say, what can we do just to get this? Like, it's 4th down. Let's just get it. So I do agree with that.
Yeah, that's fair. Any other nitpicks before we get to what are you doing, guy? Okay.
TV, back to our point from before, but it's this. So fans of teams get mad when they think, well, that TV crew at Fox gave the Bills too much credit and they didn't give the Vikings enough love. Now, I'm not saying that I heard that, but that's ordinarily the theme of the disgruntlement from fans. Here's mine. My disgruntlement happens when announcers like Moose on Sunday try to spout cliches about teams. Like, they've been around the team since Friday. They go to practice. They played the game. They've talked to the coaches. But they say things like, Danielle Hunter is having a resurgent season. Instead of knowing that, okay, of late, he's certainly improved. But you got to put this, if you're going to talk about his season, put it in the proper context.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that hard. We're not talking about a slappy on special teams that, Chris Boyd. I don't expect you to talk about Chris Boyd. But, I don't think it's too hard to identify 5 to 10 players per team that you really should dig down on and know what you're talking about. And it felt like Moose, to a large degree, just fell back on cliches. And I don't care if he praises, the Bills. That's fine with me. But let's know what we're talking about when we're talking about the absolute key players on both these teams.
It's possible Moose is just kind of, I don't say mailing it in, but Moose has been around for a long time.
He has been.
Did he start playing in the 80s? And now he's been broadcasting for 20 years.
I mean, Danielle Hunter,
Moose might just be enjoying his time at NFL stadiums at this point.
You might be right. I'm just that's my nitpick about the Fox telecast.
Okay. Okay, it's time now for what are we doing, guy? Let's start with 24 seconds left in the fourth quarter. The Buffalo Bills are down by 3 points. No timeouts. I think they were out of timeouts at this point. Frantically trying to drive down the field. They might have had one timeout, whatever it was. And Josh Allen drops back to pass, throws a 20-yard ball through the air to a diving Gabe Davis along the left sidelines. Great catch at live speed, right? Just boom, cradles that thing, gets the feet in, slides out of bounds. But I don't know. This is a pretty key moment on the edge of field goal range, down by 3. And for all of these yahoos on social media, well, the Vikings didn't have any timeouts. Inside 2 minutes, it's a booth review, automatic booth review. And the Bills rush to the line of scrimmage, rightfully so, because you're trying to just snap the ball before they can review it. Inexplicably, the officials did not review what turned out to be kind of a bobbled catch. It would not have been a catch. Now, maybe they just throw another one and they get into field goal range. Who knows? But that ball took them from their own 40 inside the Vikings 40 with 24 seconds left and a stopped clock as they're trying to kick a field goal to tie the game. To not go back and look at that. And then, I don't think any of us saw this in real time, but Pete Bursich from the radio crew put a screenshot out. I don't know if the officials have commented on this, but with 5 minutes left in overtime, Vikings are inside the 5-yard line looking to win the game. And if you remember, there was a pass to Dalvin Cook. I'm pretty sure I might be merging drives together here, but I think they threw a pass to Dalvin Cook out to the right, and it just got stuffed for a 3 or 4 yard loss. Yep. And then they only continued to go backwards after that.
Yep.
You're like, man, the Bills were swarming to the football on that play. Yeah. They had 12 guys on the field, not like a 12th guy running off the field. They had 12 guys playing defense on the play.
Genius. You talk about a prevent. That's going to prevent a lot of things.
Yes. So just to the officials, it's what are we doing, guys? Are you serious? You can't count? You can't just run a quick replay to see if Gabe Davis got that ball secured?
That's such a weird one, too, because the entire purpose of that system is okay, in a bang-bang play, the officials on the field got it wrong. Okay, you put in replay exactly for this. So it's not the official's job to buzz upstairs. What you're supposed to have then is a guy looks at that and says, that's close. I'm not sure yet, but that's close.
Yeah. Well, he's anything that's he's catching and flying out of bounds in a diving position should probably be looked at.
And dude upstairs hits a buzzer, and the referee's like, oh, I'm being buzzed. Hold on, let's stop the game. So in that one, and I did see that the head of officiating was asked about it, because that's a huge miss. That is, you put that system in to prevent that, and now you just allowed it to happen. The other thing, though, is you are right. The officials on the field had a terrible day. 12 men on the field. The holding call on Darisaw that Moose talked about is not a hold, but you're going to that's going to get screwed up sometimes. I get that. But the one that I didn't get was, I think it was in the first half, Hawkinson in the end zone is called for an OPI. Okay. Then on the very next play, Hawkinson's jersey is grabbed, and they don't call it. And then a couple of times, Jefferson, who should get calls. You're wearing 18, you're the best player in purple and arguably on the field. Like the officials should be protecting you at every turn because you're a superstar. He didn't get about 3 calls. And like, I don't think Jefferson is a Thielen meltdown guy. Like, I don't see him get really hot and like start gesticulating. But a couple of times he did, and he was exactly right. Those guys had a bad day.
So, guys in zebra shirts, what are we doing? What are we doing here? Come on. I can kind of live with some of the, grab the jersey stuff that gets missed. I get it. That happens. It's just, and sometimes they let guys play. Oh, there's a little handful of jersey. But the procedural stuff, like not reviewing the close quarters sideline catch with 24 seconds left. I mean, that's just like such an obvious, dude, just take a deep breath. Let's just take a look at this real quick. It'll take 5 seconds. Okay. And then the 12-man thing, can we not count? Right. How many, there's literally like, how many officials are there out there? 6, 8, 10? I don't even know. It's a lot.
But one of them's counting.
That's his
job. They're supposed to count that. Yes, they're supposed to count pre-snap. Oh, there's a 12th guy. Hold on a second. Last time I checked, they played 11. So
it's like at first I thought when I saw the tweet, I was like, oh, there was like maybe a 12th guy running off the field and they didn't call it. No, there were 12 guys playing defense, like actively playing defense on the play. Oh, because like watching the play, it was like, boy, that was either a terrible play call or the Bills just like sniffed something out on film there. That was a. For that you've rarely seen a Vikings red zone play blow up like that, where they just lose like 5 yards. Like, okay.
At what point, if you're the Bills, do you have a guy who says, "Oh my God, we've got 12 guys," but instead of "get off," he's like, "Too late. Let's just hope it gets through."
Right? Did they know?
Well, probably at least one guy probably knew.
If you run a guy off, it's obvious.
Yeah.
But if the ball's about to be snapped and
I'm guessing
no
at least one guy.
Yet.
I'm guessing at least one. I mean, there is no way that somebody on the Bill sideline didn't know. Yeah. And at some point, it's like, you know what? Let's just low key this and see what happens.
Yeah. So anyhow, probably so much more. And we're going to get into statements on Mackie and Judd today, our other daily show. So, but yeah, that's your Purple Daily Monday recap here. I think we owe it to the audience one more time here. They're 8-1. They just beat the Bills in Buffalo. Get the flag. Yep. Yeah. Minnesota Vikings, man. We'll see what the national talking heads say on this Monday throughout the day too. Maybe we can grab a couple things. I did see like Max Kellerman on the ESPN radio morning show. Someone sent a clip of him just like begrudgingly like, I guess I could put him above Mariota now with Kirk Cousins. But Kirk Cousins was not good yesterday. He was just sort of resilient and kept just being aggressive down the field, which that's what you want. Don't compound having a bad game with them being conservative. Mm-hmm. If you're going to have a bad game, it's not like gambling where like, I'm down $100 at the blackjack table. I should now increase my bet sizes. Don't do that. But in a football game, you should. I'm down by 17. What do I got to lose? I'm just going to start throwing 50-50 balls to JJ.
Right.
Boom. That's exactly how you respond. Anyhow, thanks for hanging out with us here. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. Judd, Phil, Declan. We'll see you guys tomorrow.